All right, welcome to episode 2 of The Musician's Musician. I am Nick Costa, and today we have a really fun episode. I sat down with Seth Davin from American Scarecrows, and we had an awesome chat about the genius of Andrew Bird. If you don't know Seth's band, American Scarecrows, run, don't walk to their discography. It is incredible. If you're a fan of like Wilco or My Morning Jacket, you're gonna love them. It's just really incredible. Seth's voice is unreal. The songwriting is so strong. I just can't recommend them enough. I joined them on guitar, actually, for a few shows back in 2023. We played with Third Eye Blind, which was pretty rad. And I just really fell in love with his songs, particularly the song from their latest album, Drawing Little Pictures. In the process of practicing and learning and playing those songs, and playing those shows, Seth and I realized that we loved a lot of the same music, like a lot of the same music. So when I came up with the idea for this podcast, Seth was the first person I asked. When he said that Andrew Bird was his pick and My Finest Work Yet was the one that he wanted to focus on, which is my favorite Andrew Bird album, I could not have been more thrilled. This was a great chat, and we go into the brilliance of Andrew Bird's songwriting, and I even bust out a guitar at one point and break down the killer chord movements of my favorite Andrew Bird song. Let's get into it. I'm here with Seth Davin. Seth, thank you so much for being a musician's musician.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Nick. Congratulations on the podcast. This is awesome.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
I respect people. I respect people that have an idea and actually follow through with it. I have historically not been one of those people, but you have the idea and you're here you are doing it. This is great. You're releasing episodes. You're doing the damn thing. I love it.
Yeah. And it came to me. I mean, we're not going to make this about me, but it came to me as like a middle of the night. I was just like, I should do this. That's something I should do. And then the next day I like made a logo and I was like, that logo looks good. And then like it just kind of snowballed. And then I was just like, I wonder if I asked some people if they would say yes. And you were the first person I asked.
I love it.
And the second person I asked was Chris Rowe from the Ataris. And he said, yeah. So
wonderful.
So it's been great. And there's some guests coming up that I'm very stoked about, yourself included, obviously. So so we're gonna talk a bit about Mr. Andrew Bird, but before we get into that, Seth, you are a part of American Scarecrows, which is an incredible band. What's going on with them? Is anything new? Is there like tunes what's going on?
No new tunes coming. We did a handful of shows this year. We played with REO Speedway. We opened for REO Speedwagon a couple weeks ago in Rochester, which was awesome.
Yes.
I met Governor Tim Walz, which was
that's right.
Very exciting. I don't know. I don't get like too starstruck easily, but that was a starstruck moment.
Yeah, especially because the presidential race was still kind of ongoing, and so like,
oh, for sure.
No.
This was like 2 weeks ago. So
it was after.
It was after, but he was in good spirits.
That's good.
He's which was nice. Not sure what next year holds for the Scarecrows camp yet, but I don't know. There'll be something.
Sure, for sure. Well, that's exciting. We've talked and I've played in the band a little bit, but
yes,
I'm a big fan of your writing, and so I think that I'm very excited to just hear whatever you come up with next. And
thank you. Me too. Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So we are going to be talking about Andrew Bird. Seth, when was the first time that you heard Andrew Bird? Do you remember?
Oh, you know what? I do. My, oh God, I must have been I must have been like maybe like 19 or 20. This dude, Adam Toe, that I went to school with. So I dropped out of high school, like right after my freshman year. And I kind of lost touch with a lot of the people that I had been kind of homies with in school, not for any particular reason. I just kind of disappeared. I was like out touring with my band at the time. And I remember we were reconnecting. He was in middle school. He was in a band called Brutal Poodle, which is like, I cannot think of like a better middle school band name than Brutal Poodle. I actually filled in on guitar with Brutal Poodle at the 8th grade formal. Big deal. Oh, very big deal.
Wow.
We played Sum 41, Fat Lip.
Sure.
I mean, brought the fucking house down, dude. As one did. Mm-hmm. But I remember we were reconnecting because we hadn't seen each other in a handful of years, and he showed me this YouTube video of Andrew Bird, and I think Martin Dosh was playing with him of the song Plasticities off of Armchair Apocrypha, and I was hooked immediately. Like I was familiar enough with the Line 6, like I knew what looping was, but I mean it was still felt kind of newish. This would have been maybe like 2007, maybe. I don't know when the DL4 came out, but like it
was around that time. I think
I just remember like seeing him looping the violin part and then grabbing a guitar, and then you have Martin Dosh on the drums, who always just has always had such like amazing feel. I really was just like hooked from like first note, and I mean that was kind of it. I mean it's just been I've been following his releases pretty religiously since. I mean
and that's late in his career even. That was also the first time I heard him. I remember specifically like being in high school and somebody being like, you should check this out. And I was like, oh, isn't that like the Windows guy? Because he had a nervous tick motion of the head to the left, and that was like that came on Windows.
It did?
Yeah, it was like Windows XP or something.
I did not know this.
Yeah, so like you opened up Windows Media Player, and like that was preloaded on. It was like that stupid U2 album.
I was just gonna say, yeah,
but or I should say better. The better example would be Weezer Buddy Holly video when like Windows 95 or whatever came out.
I'm not a computer. I don't know anything about computers, so I'm missing all of this.
So fun fact about Weezer, because every episode has to have one. So like Weezer released Blue Album, and like it went over pretty good and people liked it. But it blew up because the Buddy Holly music video by Spike Jonze was preloaded into Windows 95. And that was like the show off point, was like, these computers can play video. Look at this.
Yes.
And it was Buddy Holly. And so that song just exploded.
Well, God, and that music video, like of them like superimposing like the band into the Happy Days thing was like, I mean, talk about like something that we take for granted now technologically, but like at the time it was like, oh my, what? You know, like it's so wild at the time.
It's really weird to think about Weezer ushering in the digital music world.
Totally.
But yeah, so I just remember that, and then I think it was like, the Current might have been around, which is a radio station in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, but for those who don't know, and they started playing, I think it might have been Plasticities, and I was like,
sounds right. I mean, like he like that was, he performed that on like Letterman, like that was kind of like that was a song, you know. I remember that album cover being everywhere, and it was like at the year-end lists for everybody, and like, I'd go to the record store and I'd see it and be like, wow, there must be something to that guy, but it didn't really, for sure,
it didn't really click for me. There was like, it's hard to describe, but I put him and wrongly, I put him and the Decemberists in the same kind of category, where I was like, cool, yeah, they're like indie guys that use big words.
No, you're not wrong.
It's technically right. but like that was where my interest stopped, and
Sure.
and that was incorrect, because when the album we're going to talk about a little bit more in depth, but we can kind of go back and forth. When My Finest Work Yet came out, that was the one where I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
Now I get it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of in like a third or fourth era, at least how I kind of categorize his like body of work in my head, where you have like the early Bowl of Fire stuff, which hasn't always, that stuff hasn't like always grabbed me. Like I haven't spent a ton of time with the super early stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't like even though that this isn't right. I like that we can kind of like mythologize people's discography however we want in our heads. Right. Yeah. Like I know, I'm trying to think of a good example of this. Like, I don't really consider AM to be Wilco's first record. Sure. I know that it is technically, mm-hmm. but like I in my head, I really think that like Being There is Wilco's first album.
That's when they started sounding like Wilco.
Yeah. And like that's no hate on AM. I love a lot of those songs. They still play a lot of those songs live. Casino Queen is a ripper. Box Full of Letters, like -7. I love a lot of those songs. But I mean, but to my ears, that AM really feels like a kind of a continuation of Uncle Tupelo without Jay Farrar. Because that's kind of what it was. Like they just kind of like had to scramble and get the album together. And then like it wasn't until Being There that like we really start getting the Wilco and like the through lines to like today, like the Wilco that we have today, where it's like they're exploring and it's fucking there's strange sounds and cool choices all mixed in with the kind of Americana, with Tweedy's songwriting. I don't know. And so long way of saying with Andrew Bird, like Weather Systems is where I kind of think of that as like the start of like Andrew Bird as we know him today, and like the body of work afterwards, I feel like kind of starts there.
Weather Systems?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so I kind of dug through because he has a lot of albums.
There's a lot
to go through. And so I was just like, I've heard, Mysterious Production of Eggs. That might be
which is such a great album title. By the way,
yeah,
it's such a good album title.
He has fantastic album titles.
Yeah,
I have to say.
He really does, for sure.
But yeah, so I was kind of thinking like I never really went back and listened to the really early stuff. So I listened to like Music of Hair, his very first record from '96.
Yeah,
and it is weird. Like it's okay. It's like it's listenable, but like he's like putting on weird voices, and then there's songs that are like just solo violin.
It's like a little jazzier. Like there's some jazz influence there, way more apparent than for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's like very much like like this is elevated music or something like that.
Right.
And then it was like that mid 2000s era where like I heard him talking about this too, but like the kind of indie scene was blowing up, or what he called he kind of called it post rock.
Post rock or like alternative, like like alternative music was really
it was a big thing
it was,
as people know, the early 2000s was huge for that. And so he was like, well, I can do that.
Yeah,
and then he did, and it was like fucking incredible.
Totally, he did, but then I mean, he did, but also like the whole time he's always brought like his spirit to it, mm-hmm. right? Like it's not like there was maybe two kind of trendy Urban Outfitters records, and now we have the Andrew Bird that we have today. Yeah. Like if you listen to Mysterious Production of Eggs all the way through, I mean, like even though things have evolved and things have changed a bit, which will be fun to talk about tonight. There is a through line. There's a through line that you can kind of trace all the way back.
Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. It's I mean, it's always interesting to hear how an artist progresses, but like you can really hear it with him.
Yes.
And it kind of seems like he started really sparse at the beginning, and then kind of like grew and got bigger and more grandiose, and then like as kind of going back to being more sparse again, but like knowing how to use that space a lot more.
I wonder, absolutely. I wonder how much of that was just like what kind of access he had, like what kind of access he had to, I don't know, certain engineers, certain studios, certain types of like players. Cause like starting small, if you build like a sturdy foundation, it's like, okay, like I know how to record my voice and my violin and my guitar, and I know how to record like my looper. It's like, now what if we introduce drums? What if we introduce bass? And like you kind of start, then like you're building a really sturdy foundation to build upon, which I feel like he has, like, especially in like all of the, you know, the different eras. Like I love that there's like early on there's kind of like his Chicago crew on like Weather Systems, or I think that the people are from Chicago. I don't know for sure, but like on like Weather Systems and Mysterious Production of Eggs. And then we have this like awesome Armchair Apocrypha, Noble Beast, Break It Yourself, and Hands of Glory, all with like the Minneapolis crew, which is all like Martin Dosh, Jeremy Ilvasacker, JT Bates plays drums, Mike Lewis is playing bass, which I love all of the Minnesota ties. Obviously, like as you know, like people from Minnesota, we love when there are people from Minnesota involved. Yeah. We really love it, and I am no different. I'm no different than that. I'm like, hell yeah! It's like those are our boys, dude. Like,
absolutely.
And they're wonderful players. Like they're wonderful players that really like added to like the spirit and the whole. I mean, like those albums wouldn't sound like they do without those dudes playing, you know. And,
Big agree. They are world class musicians, each and every one. For
sure, especially. Wait, the album's called. I'm blanking now that it's like we're like talking publicly. The album's called "Break It Yourself," right?
Yeah. There's "Break It Yourself" from 2012, which is incredible.
Yeah. That's my second. That's my second favorite. Like I adore that album. It's a super mysterious album for me. Like I just think that like there's something about the sounds and the lyrics that like it just kind of like steeped with mystery to me in such like a cool way. It's super like vibey and kind of dark and kind of haunting at times. And then there's like these really beautiful like emotional lifts. And like Andy Clark from St. Vincent features on that record. I almost chose that record just because I really really love that one. But I think my finest work yet is his, like it's his best record, I think. So far, you know. Yeah.
Well, let's get into it. Let's get into my finest work yet. That one was released March 22nd, 2019, which was my 30th birthday.
Oh my God. Cool.
Yeah, pretty neat. So
good birthday.
Yeah. Good birthday. That was his 12th album. And it's notable for being his first overtly political album.
100%.
Which I thought was interesting. It was co-produced by Paul Butler, who did Hooray for the Riff Raff and St. Paul and the Broken Bones, Evander Banhart. And one thing that I really loved was somebody asked him, is this actually your finest work yet? And he responded, at some point, all of them are, which I thought is really funny.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good answer. Yeah, he had to have had that one in the can. Like he knew that people were going to be asking.
Certainly. Yeah.
But as tongue in cheek as it is, though, like it I think that it is, especially like up to that point, like it actually, it really, I feel like that this album like really kind of like encapsulates like everything that I find to be so magical and wonderful about his writing and his playing.
It does.
It really is a special record.
Yeah, it feels like a perfect concentration of like every album. Like all the best parts of every album leading up to that point.
Yeah, and pushing forward too. Because there's new stuff. It's groovier. It's a groovier album than I think on like a lot more groovy than a lot of the other records. Like Bloodless is straight up groove, man.
Oh my God.
I think that like him moving to LA and like doing this is kind of like, you know, like we were talking about, like he had his Chicago crew, and then there was like the Minneapolis crew for like a handful of records, and then he moves to LA. And like when Are You Serious came out, I was like, oh, this is like a notable like shift. Like these players, like the live show is different. I've seen him so many times, and I've seen him in like almost all of these iterations, which has been like really fun in its own right. Like, because all of the shows, like it always feels like an Andrew Bird show because it's him, but like it's always a little different. Like when you have these different players, it just brings a different spirit to the to everything. But then like with Are You Serious, it's like there is like a marked difference. Like I don't even know, I can't even like pinpoint exactly like what exactly it is, but like I don't know if it does start to like get like slightly jazzier and like maybe like start like a little more soul involved, that then by the time that we get to My Finest Work, it's just like it's kind of like all of the playing is so like slick. Yeah. Without being overproduced, because like they're recording it live, right? Like so it's like all of like the quote unquote like slickness really is just like really pro players being recorded in like a not so slick, overly produced environment, which I think is just makes for such an awesome, you know,
definitely vibe. Yeah, I think so. It's funny that you mentioned that Are You Serious was the turning point, because the first time he ever used a producer other than himself was Are You Serious.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
According to him. Okay. And so the next one that he did with another producer was My Finest Work Yet.
Yes. Wow.
And yeah, they wanted to be in the same room, and they wanted everything to bleed together.
And you can hear it.
You can hear it. Like, so there was some interview I was listening to where they like isolated some of the tracks, and like you just hear the whole band behind them, and it's so
oh my god! Oh, you'll have to, if you find that again, you'll have to send it to me, because I would love to hear that.
I will, yeah. And they also talked about just a couple different recording techniques too. They mic'd for the bass. They mic'd the back of the amp because like it was like a thing that they did back in the day. And that's how you get like that kind of punchy sound. And then they, you know, it sounds like they compress the shit out of it too. So then you get that like kind of Paul McCartney plunk. Totally. Like playing with the pick. And like, I know that like Andrew Bird, is like obsessed with bass lines. Like he's like really like he's got like a particular obsession about bass lines and like what they add frequency wise to whatever's going on around it. God, the players are so good on this record, and having Madison Cunningham, I love the piano. I've been playing a lot of piano in the last year. I've grown kind of obsessed, because I finally, my wife and I moved into a place that I could finally have my piano. Awesome.
And so I've been playing a lot of piano, and so everything that I'm listening to, I'm definitely like just kind of like honing in a little bit more. And this dude Tyler, what's his name? Tyler Chester, who just like really beautiful parts, especially on Bloodless. Like it really adds this kind of I don't know. It's like because it's such like a dark like feeling song, like thematically. I feel like they really like kind of nailed it with like the music is really matching the
the piano adds like a level of suspense, I think, or I don't want to say tension, but kind of.
No. It almost feels like things are about to fall apart or not. You know, like I don't know,
or like there's like this gravity to the way that piano sounds.
Yes,
and he even said like he had previously been a little bit more cautious about using piano because of the element that it brings to the songs, but like for this one, it made sense. And I think that's very true.
Yes.
Because it is kind of like a weirdly kind of dark record, like sound wise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like very warm, but yeah, very
100%.
It's gritty. And it's great.
It is gritty. Like I was saying earlier, like you're getting this like kind of like polished slickness from how good the players are, but like not in like the production and the recording, which is such a cool thing. It really makes me think that like they could go in and try to remake this record again and they wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. Right. Totally. Where whereas like if you're going in and you're isolating every single track, like it's going to be a little different, but like you could probably get close. When you're recording like this, like you couldn't recreate it. Like it really is marking this time, these players in that room on that day, and here we are. For sure. It really translates beautifully.
I agree. Yeah, I think that. I mean, like, as an album, like as a whole, it really is like it's his finest work yet. I think it's also just like a turning point because you had Inside Problems that was incredible. Yeah. And like Sunday Morning Put On is incredible, even though it's kind of more jazz standards. And then there's Cunningham Bird that came out too this year.
Okay, so I haven't listened to it yet.
I mean,
I've been putting it off because I want to spend more time with the Buckingham Nicks album first. So that then when I listen to it, I'm kind of like getting it, and I just haven't like found the time to like dedicate to it yet. So it's something that I haven't done yet. But like,
it's a great companion piece. So like they're not like competing for the same listen, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Like,
no, right.
It's a very different listening experience, but like they're both fantastic. So
I mean, of course it is. I mean, it's both. It's them. It's Madison Cunningham and Andrew Bird. I mean, I think that it was on the Finest Work Yet tour at the Palace Theater in St. Paul. And actually, that show, it was a remarkable show, and like we got seats in the loge section. Oh. Is that how you pronounce that?
I have no idea.
Loge. It's Loge. I think it's Loge. Okay. Well, I guess people will be assholes in the comments and correct us.
Yeah, Loge.
Loge. Okay. We were sitting in the Loge section, which at the Palace Theater in St. Paul is just like wonderful. And we had never listened to Madison Cunningham before, and she was playing in his band, and she opened with her own, with her own project, and it was a remarkable opening set. She's
unreal.
It was she covered No Surprises. Oh. And
oh no.
I feel like
that's amazing.
I feel like that is such a first you don't see a lot of Radiohead covers. Certainly not necessarily in like an opening set, and it was like there was not a dry eye in the audience. I mean, it was like it kind of like brought everyone to their knees. It was just a miraculous show. I mean, I've seen her a handful of times,
and she's then as well. A hell of a guitar player.
She's fucking incredible. She's an incredible guitar player.
Unreal.
All feel like
genuinely, yeah, yes. And like complicated parts. I think she played on the new Dawes record, or at least like did some of the live sessions, and like that record's also great.
I haven't listened to that yet.
Oh man, I mean we're getting sidetracked.
No,
that's kind of the theme of the podcast so far, is getting sidetracked for every other episode. But the last two Dawes records are like it feels kind of similar actually to this. To Finest Work Yet, where like is a turning point.
Sure,
like, it feels like a palpable difference between the two.
Great.
Like there's before Doom Scroller, like the Misadventures of Doom Scroller from Dawes, and then there's After, and it's like I very much prefer After.
Okay, cool. I'll definitely give that a listen.
Check it out.
Yeah,
it's really good. It sounds like they got really into Steely Dan and made a record. And
cool.
So here for
Dope.
it.
All right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But anyway, Madison Cunningham and Mike Viola, both.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Mike Viola. Like he's
who's also on this record.
Yeah, totally. Well, I know. Well, and I know that he. I think that he. Yeah. He on this one. I know that he's done some like engineering work with them too. I mean, like, and I think that he's like worked with Dawes too. Like, I think
he did that newest Dawes record.
Yeah. Okay, so like, I mean, there's like, dude, what an awesome crew in LA.
How do I get into that scene?
No, yeah, dude, you got to get in there, man.
I know.
Did you listen to? Wait, what's the? Not Rock of Boston, but the Mike Viola record that came out before that. It's Paul McCartney. That record is so fucking good.
Oh my god, he's an incredible songwriter.
I was That Thing You Do has been my favorite movie forever. I saw it for the first time in 4th grade, and it has just never left. It's just I watch it, you know, at least once or twice a year. And so I mean, his voice has always had a special place in my heart. He's just such a wonderful songwriter, killer guitar player. Yeah. And what a cool crew that Andrew Blake Mills also. I mean, like just like an absolute genius. Yeah, just a whole lot of cool players. I'm digging this Andrew Bird. Of course, Andrew Bird like moves to LA, and it's like, okay, like he's like pretty plugged in with like a pretty bitchin' crew, you know.
Well, yeah, at that point, you know, he had a
I mean, he was established.
Career.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But you also have to show up with something to do, and you have to show up with songs, and I mean, and I just feel like with this record there's just like this really special energy to like all of the like these specific 10 songs tackling these topics recorded this way, just all kind of coalescing into this wonderful like package. It really does just feel kind of magical to me. Like
it certainly is. And like we also, I mean, it wouldn't be a podcast about Andrew Bird if we didn't bring this up, but the album starts off with his whistle.
Yeah, totally.
Sisyphus.
Yeah, totally.
And like the man has the greatest whistle in rock.
100. Yeah. One of the only, and the best. I remember that reminds me of. I remember like years ago, I was talking to someone about Andrew Bird. And I was like, "Oh, do you listen to Andrew Bird?" And this dude goes, "No, I don't really listen to Andrew Bird. Too much whistling." And I remember, I got so defensive. I got like so defensive on his behalf. Where I was like, whoa, like hold it, pal. There's a lot more going on than just like than just the whistling.
Too much whistling. Oh, I'm sorry. Is it too much of the greatest whistling you've ever fucking heard in your life?
Totally, for sure. Well, and like, so something that I think is really, really interesting and cool about the whistling is that I feel like maybe more than the lyrics or the violin playing or anything, I feel like the whistling is like the most like personal part of audio that we get from Andrew Bird, because like I've like in some of the interviews that I've watched with him over the years, like he's talked about how like his whole life he is always whistling. When he's doing stuff around the house, when he's walking to the store, when he's driving, he's always whistling. Like it's just a constantly it's a part of like, you know, he does it unconsciously, right? Where it's just like something that he does all the time, because like you are carrying around a little instrument with you at all times, and I feel like that there's just something about the way that the whistling gets incorporated into the recordings that just like makes sense to me. Like it feels kind of like, do you know what I'm saying? Like it feels personal.
It does. Yeah. I mean it's just as personal as his voice.
Yeah.
It's
right.
And he can draw so much emotion out of his whistle.
It's like the craziest thing.
The song that kills me, that like every single time I listen to it, I get chills. And like, this might be the only song I think I know that like every time I listen to it, I get chills. It's Cracking Codes.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
And like when his whistle comes in that second verse before the, and I know the what I say just sounds absurd. Like, I'm getting chills thinking about it.
I know.
And
it might be the best song on the record.
I think it's his best song he's ever written.
God,
there's a specific chord change that absolutely fucking kills me, and it's in the chorus, and I have a 5-string guitar here.
Oh yeah, no, let's hear it.
So say is true, and then this one, this B7.
Yes.
True.
Yes.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
The first time I heard it, and it went
Beautiful.
I was wrecked. And every time since, I'm like, fuck, that is like such a good turn.
Beautiful turn. And another thing that I love musically, or production wise about that recording is that the last line goes unfinished, and then it comes, and then the song finishes with the loop that it begins.
Yes.
The doom, dun, 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 dun. Like there's something about that kind of hits me emotionally, because it's this big grandiose, and what I say is, and then he doesn't say true.
Right.
It kind of goes off, and then it's just such a cool choice.
Like
that just hits my heart in all the right ways.
Every single time. I think if there's a single song that I would tell people to listen to from him, which like I don't usually tell people to just listen to one song from an artist, but like if you need a diving in point for Andrew Bird, like that is the song to me.
Yeah, I mean,
or Sisyphus, because like Sisyphus is a hell of an
feel
opener.
Like it is Sisyphus. I mean, going back on, I think that Pulaski at Night. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. That's
sure.
That's a. I feel like that's kind of like a quintessential.
That one's up there.
It kind of has. It just kind of like has like all of the Andrew Bird stuff in there.
Yeah.
Whereas like oh man, Cracking Codes really is just like a really special. That's something that I was thinking about like as I was, getting ready for this podcast and listening to the album a few more times over the last couple weeks.
Yeah,
I almost feel like Fall or Run. I really like that song, but like because it comes right after Cracking Codes, I feel like it kind of it's almost like I need to like take a break after Cracking Codes and then kind of like jump back in, because I feel like I'm not giving Fall or Run the attention and the due that it deserves, because like I'm still just kind of like, Jesus Christ, like.
I think on the vinyl too, I think Cracking Codes is the end of side 1 and then Fall or Run is the start of side 2, which makes so much sense if you think about it that way.
It is. Yeah. I was speaking of which, I have like a really awesome copy of.
Do you have the deluxe?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Which is really, really pretty. I have like the gold. It like has like this like
out of here,
beautiful the gold.
Wow, yeah,
and like this big beautiful like this big beautiful like booklet on the inside. Has everything. Well, and it's like an what am I
a coffee table book?
Yeah, no, totally. Which was worth the extra money. I mean, like my wife and I are both just massive fans, so I was like, I'm going to pony up the extra money for the for the gold edition. Like it's such a special record.
Artists. Yeah, there's certain artists and certain albums where it's like, yeah, for sure. I mean, there's albums that I have where I have like 4 copies of it because it's like, I don't have that one,
right?
Like
totally.
Like I don't have the half-speed master of Paul McCartney's RAM.
I think that I've purchased like 7 different copies of Randy Newman's Sail Away, because like every time that I'm there, it's like well, what if one of mine gets like fucked up, like, and then what if you just can't find them anymore? Like I don't want to,
Yeah. No, I have bought. There's 2 specifically where I've bought, and I've like so many copies of it, and it's RAM by Paul McCartney and Red-Headed Stranger by Willie Nelson, because like I had this moment where if somebody hadn't heard the record, I would just give them my copy.
Beautiful. Yeah, totally.
So I was like, oh, you just take it. Just take it. You
just
need
take it. You'll love it. Yeah.
This will change your life.
For sure.
And I think I had more success getting people onto the Paul McCartney train than the Willie Nelson one. But
no, but I mean, yeah, not me, man. That Red-Headed Stranger is something else. It's
a perfect album, but I think it's for him one of the less accessible albums because there's not really like hits. Like you have Shotgun Willie, and there's like Shotgun Willie and like sad songs and waltzes, and like there's like song after song after song. And Red-Headed Stranger is just like, well, that song's 40 seconds, and then we go into an old-timey piano breakdown, and
the guitar sounds Trigger sounds so good on that record.
Yeah,
it's just like really, it's really cool, man.
That's like Trigger's record. So I adore that record. But yeah, it's kind of one of those. And yeah, this album, My Finest Work Yet, was one where I probably looked for like 2 full years at record stores trying to do it, because they did that first pressing.
Yes.
There's the deluxe and then there's the standard, and then they didn't press it again until this year.
I bought this one. I bought this copy on Discogs because like I couldn't find it anywhere, and like I don't normally try to buy stuff. Like I try to find stuff if I can, and then if I can't, like now I'm like, well, but I want it. So like, you know. Yeah.
I remember it was like we had just moved back to LA and we went to Amoeba, and you know, I had fond memories of Amoeba because I was just like, wow, this place is great. They have so much shit. Yes. But like that was a trip where I have my Discogs want list, and I just went down and I checked off like 90% of it.
Dude, I
was just like,
that's cool.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
That was the first one. I was just like, well, we got to go to B and find Andrew Bird. Yeah. And I pulled out that record and I gasped so loud that like people were like,
it sounds really good on vinyl.
It's incredible.
It sounds really, really good. Like, I mean, it really does. It really does. Like, I think that like the way that some albums are mastered, like maybe sometimes I think like the older that I get, the more I'm realizing it's like, oh, you know what? Like, I don't know that I want everything on vinyl. Like some stuff like just doesn't make sense. Like where it's just not translating the way that I want it to. This is not one of those albums. You really are like you really are getting some warmth and clarity out of some of the instrumentation that you're just not getting on digital. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's kind of made to be a record you listen to on vinyl.
100%.
So, fully agree. It's just a perfect record front to back.
It is. It's a 10 out of 10, no skips. Like,
yeah, Inside Problems it's a close second to me, actually, I think.
Is that right?
I love that record.
Yeah, I do too.
It has less, like, I don't know, it's like drier than My Finest Work Yet, for lack of a better term.
Yes.
Like, less reverb, for sure, but like also just like very sparse instrumentation, and the songs just kind of stand on their own.
Totally.
In an amazing way.
I love the way that album is mixed too, and I love like Lone Didion is really cool. It's just a really, really cool vibe. And just like I don't know, something about that song like also feels like something feels like new in that to me, like compared to like the rest of his stuff. There's something about I don't know, the storytelling, and I don't know. It's just that's a pretty that is a cool record. I haven't spent as much time with that one as like I think that out of all of the new stuff, I've still been kind of so focused on My Finest Work Yet over the last like 5 years that's the one that I've listened to the most in the last 5. This one and Break It Yourself. And actually, you know what? And before that, have you listened to any of the Echolocation series?
I haven't.
That he's done. Do you know about those?
So I saw those. Are those like instrumental things, or?
Yeah.
I love it when he does, because he did Outside Problems too, which is an incredible album. But that's all instrumental, and like that shit's my jam, man. Like I love that.
Me too. Like especially like I work by myself, and so I just work in a shop by myself, so I have a lot of time to listen to stuff. And I remember like echolocations are all, as far as I understand, improvisations in certain being recorded in certain spots. So the first one is called Canyon, Echolocations Canyon, and like he literally, like him and like an engineer hiked into this like beautiful natural reverbed like canyon, and he just improvised for however long, and then like that's the album.
That rules.
It is so good. There's There's a second one called River. And there's there were he or someone on his team said that there was going to be 5, that there was going to be City, that there was going to be Forest, and one called Lake, but there's only 2 released as of yet. But I remember like the first one, Canyon, came out in like 2015. It kind of came out at this like really perfect time for me, where like I was having like a particularly like anxious time in my life, and like there was something that was so like medicinal about just listening to like Andrew Bird improvise in this like beautiful like canyon. There's no words. I'm not getting distracted by story. I'm not getting distracted by lyrics. And not that those things are like distractions, but like it really was just like it really acted as like this kind of like audible reset that really could not have come at like at a better time. And like I don't know, I'm just like so thankful for that. Like it really is just like one of those. It's one of like the very many like magical things about music that like it really can just kind of like reshape your conscious experience and like like give you like a reset if you're needing it. Yeah. And like I still do that. Like I still like you introduced me to that John Hopkins what's that John Hopkins record, Music for Psychedelic Therapy.
Sure. Yeah.
Also kind of like acts in the same way, where it's just like, man, like even if I throw that on even if I'm having like a wonderful day, it just kind of like elevates. I don't know. There's just something really, really special about these like instrumental albums that like I don't know, just make me feel a particular way, and like I mean that really, like I've been listening to Andrew Bird for so long now. I'm 37 now. Probably heard him. You know, we're talking about like 17. You know, the better part of like 2 decades. That like there is something about his voice and his violin playing and his whistling that really just feels like the most comfortable sweatshirt you've had forever that you'll never get rid of, because like it's just like so worn in, you know. I'm just very, very thankful for that, you know. Well,
I think that's probably a pretty good spot to wrap it up.
Great.
But yeah, Seth, thank you so much for the conversation, and thanks again for being a musician's musician.